Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr Hyde is a Gothic novella by Scottish author Robert Louis Stevenson, first published in 1886. Set in Victorian London, the story explores the dual nature of humanity and the struggle between good and evil within the human soul. It is one of the most enduring works in English literature, influencing countless adaptations in film, theatre, and popular culture. The novella is structured as a mystery and is told primarily through the perspective of Mr. Gabriel Utterson, a lawyer and close friend of the respectable Dr. Henry Jekyll. Utterson becomes increasingly concerned after hearing about a sinister and violent man named Edward Hyde, who seems to be connected to Jekyll and is named in his will. The story begins with a disturbing incident. Hyde tramples over a young girl in the street and shows no remorse. Though he settles the matter with money, the brutality of the act shocks all who witness it. As he investigates further, Hyde's behavior becomes more alarming. He's described as deformed, repellent, and lacking any sense of empathy. Yet no one can explain exactly what makes him so unnatural. Over time, Hyde's crimes escalate. He eventually murders a respected member of Parliament, Sir Danvers Carew. In the aftermath, Hyde disappears and Jekyll appears to return to his old sociable self. However, the peace is short-lived. Jekyll becomes increasingly reclusive and signs of Hyde's return begin to surface. The final revelations come in the form of two letters, one from Dr. Lanyon, a mutual friend, and the other from Jekyll himself. Lanyon, once a rational and scientific man, describes witnessing a horrifying transformation. Edward Hyde drinking a potion and turning into Henry Jekyll before his very eyes. The shock causes Lanyon's health to deteriorate rapidly, leading to his death. Jekyll's own letter explains everything. Driven by a desire to separate his moral self from his darker instincts, he created a potion that allowed him to physically transform into another being, Mr. Hyde. As Hyde, he could indulge in every impulse without guilt or consequence. At first, he controlled when to change between identities, but as time went on, Hyde grew stronger and Jekyll found it harder to resist his darker self. Eventually, he began transforming involuntarily and the duality became a prison. In the end, Jekyll runs out of the ingredients needed for the potion. Trapped in his final transformation as Hyde and with the authorities closing in, he dies by suicide. The mystery is solved, but at great cost. The central theme of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde is duality, the divided nature of humanity. Stevenson explores the idea that every person has both good and evil within them, and that trying to separate or suppress one side can lead to destruction. Jekyll represents the outwardly respectable Victorian gentleman, while Hyde embodies raw, unchecked impulse and desire. The central theme of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde is duality, the divided nature of humanity. Stevenson explores the idea that every person has both good and evil within them, and that trying to separate or suppress one side can lead to destruction. Jekyll represents the outwardly respectable Victorian gentleman, while Hyde embodies raw, unchecked impulse and desire. The novella also explores the dangers of repression. Victorian society demanded strict moral behavior, especially among the upper classes. Jekyll, unable to reconcile his public image with his inner urges, turns to science to create a hidden outlet. Stevenson suggests that denying one's true nature leads not to virtue, but to a dangerous imbalance. Another major theme is science and ethics. Jekyll's experiment reflects both the ambition and the recklessness of scientific pursuit. His attempt to manipulate human nature ends in tragedy, showing that playing God, meddling with the soul, is not only morally questionable but catastrophically risky. The theme of identity and anonymity is also significant. Hyde, while recognizable and distinct, is never fully described, leaving his horror to the imagination. He's both Jekyll and not Jekyll, a manifestation of the darkest parts of the self. This duality forces the reader to question what defines a person, their actions. The theme of identity and anonymity is also significant. Hyde, while recognizable and distinct, is never fully described, leaving his horror to the imagination. He's both Jekyll and not Jekyll, a manifestation of the darkest parts of the self. This duality forces the reader to question what defines a person, their actions. There is also a strong element of urban Gothic atmosphere. Stevenson paints Victorian London as a city of fog, dark alleyways, and hidden lives. The respectable streets contrast sharply with the shadowy corners where Hyde operates, echoing the internal conflict of Jekyll himself. The setting mirrors the themes: on the surface, order and civility; beneath, chaos and corruption. Finally, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde is a warning about the consequences of indulging the darker side of human nature. Jekyll believes he can control Hyde, but in the end the monster consumes the man. Stevenson makes it clear, once we unleash our inner demons, we may not be able to put them back. The novella endures because it taps into a universal fear, the idea that beneath our civilized exteriors lies something darker, something we may not fully understand or control. It's a chilling reminder that the true horror often lies not in the supernatural but in the human mind.